this guy.
Safety never takes a holiday.
This week on At the Movies, Kevin James is Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
By the time you're 21, I'll make you into a millionaire.
Be careful, son. Nobody's invincible.
The life and death of rapper Biggie Smalls. We'll review Notorious.
I don't know you, and you don't know me.
That's exactly why we should have lunch together.
Oscar winners Dustin Hoffman and Emma.
But we're gonna save the dogs.
Plus, Emma Roberts, Don Cheadle, and Lisa Kudrow star in Hotel for Dogs.
Answer that question.
Nobody knows this mall better than I do.
Kevin James does his own version of John McClane from Die Hard. I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
And I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment. Our first movie today is Paul Blart, Mall Cop, starring Kevin James as the title character. He's a single dad in suburban New Jersey, protecting and serving shoppers and store owners at the local mall with far too much focus and intensity.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to issue a citation.
Can you validate this?
Sir, I'm warning you, sir. Sir, you're a nasty old man.
When Blart loses himself in a game of Rock Band, he lets his guard down, and the mall is captured by criminals attempting to steal the credit card numbers from the store's cash registers. Of course, Blart's crush, played by Jayma Mays, is one of the hostages, and he tries to take down the bad guys from the inside, Die Hard style.
I need you to exit the building immediately.
I took a sworn oath to protect this mall and all inside it.
Well, Sergeant, looks like you got your eyes on the inside.
What are you trained to do? Nothing.
James gives it everything he's got, totally committing to the character and delivering clean comedy, which oftentimes is more difficult than creating just a raunch fest.
Is he crying?
It will make older audiences laugh here and there, so if you're in charge of the family this weekend, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking them to see it.
I like Kevin James. I like King of Queens. I like it a lot. Watch it all the time. And he plays much the same character. He's great at sort of knowing his own limitations, both as an actor and a character.
He's the center of a lot of the jokes. He's very self-deprecating in that way.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that works, and I was amused by the Die Hard parody. One guy sort of alone taking out the terrorists one by one.
But this is for kids, and I think that's what's important to know about this movie. They're trying to sell it like maybe it's a little bit older audience they're going after. It's from Adam Sandler and the folks at Happy Madison, his production company. Their stuff tends to be a little bit more raunchy or R-rated.
No, it's not
This
raunchy.
is a PG movie.
Yeah, but still, as a film, it was not funny enough. I mean, once you'd seen about the first 20 minutes of the movie, you got a sense of what all the jokes were going to be. And in particular, you know, the fat jokes keep coming down the aisle one after the other, and it's really lowest common denominator humor.
Absolutely. Highbrow humor, this is not. But for younger audiences who can't go and see a Die Hard, this is kind of a movie for them.
And a fat joke every now and then is fine. A fat joke where you're supposed to point and sneer at the people because of their weight, it's just not amusing, and that happened, I thought, far too often. So it's close for me, but ultimately I'm going to have to say skip Paul
I'm glad,
Blart.
though, you see the talent in Kevin James. I do think he's one of the funnier guys working today.
Okay, next movie. If Milk set the standard for biopics in 2008, then 2009 is off to a strong start with Notorious, the story of the short but wildly successful hip-hop career of Christopher Wallace, better known as Biggie Smalls, or the notorious B.I.G. He was a street corner rapper who made his money dealing drugs until discovered by producer Sean Puffy Combs.
Maybe in the right hands, I could be like one of the greatest.
How old are you?
19.
By the time you're 21, I'll make you into a millionaire.
That's Derek Luke as Puffy and Jamal Woolard as Biggie. Woolard was an unemployed, expectant father with no acting experience when he got this part, and he gives a remarkable performance, soulful, conflicted, angst-ridden, and determined. And as a Brooklyn rapper himself, he pulls off Biggie's performances effectively as well.
B.I.G. is on the mic, call the Undertaker, make an appointment and schedule an interview. Because you know what big man's about to do. 50 grand.
Hold on. What'd you say at the beginning of your rhyme? B.I.G.?
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls, huh?
Biggie only lived to be 24. The circumstances of his death are much better known than those of his life. But this film tells a complete story. Biggie grew up with a single mother, played by Angela Bassett. He was a big kid, a smart kid who loved to rhyme and dreamed, figuratively, of a bigger life. Also credit to director George Tillman Jr. for avoiding so many biopic crutches. I really enjoyed this film. I think you should see it.
I love sitting here with a smile on my face, hearing you mention all these characters like Biggie and Puffy and all these hip-hop things. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Biggie. I grew up in New York in the 90s when he was really coming to prominence. And what I really love about the film is that you see the motivations of what inspires somebody to want to live this lifestyle. You see what they're dealing with their friends, their family, the hardships growing up in Brooklyn during that time and being involved in the drug trade are all, like you said, not a typical biopic, the crutches of a film like this, but are really just sort of emblematic of what he went through. It's very authentic, down to the locations, to the wardrobe. Biggie's mom was on set every day for the filming of this movie, except for the scenes in Los Angeles, of course, where he was murdered. So for a hardcore fan of his music and his life, it rings true, and that's what I was looking for going into this movie.
Really nice touch. Little Biggie as a small child, as Christopher Wallace, was played by Christopher Wallace Jr., his son with Faith Evans. And it didn't feel like a gimmick because the kid was really good, I thought, playing his father at a young age.
And I'm glad you mentioned Derek Luca's Puffy, because we have this image of Diddy now, but this was, you know, 15 years ago. It was a different Puff Daddy than it was today. And Anthony Mackie played Tupac Shakur off-Broadway many years ago, has really his spirit in a few scenes here. So I'm glad we mentioned all the supporting characters. And the fact that you love a hip-hop movie really makes me feel good about myself. Well, it's the first hip-hop biopic ever. So you know, cool.
And I kept waiting, especially in a movie about Biggie, I kept waiting for the montage and the come-to-Jesus moment. And there was a brief come-to-Jesus moment that didn't work, but it was very brief. And the montage was very short. I mean, George Tillman really managed to stay away from, as I mentioned, those cliches. And I think that ended up really enhancing the film.
Absolutely. Coming up next, Dustin Hoffman tries to prove that it's never too late to fall in love in Last Chance Harvey.
And later, Benicio del Toro stars in the epic Che, and Daniel Craig breaks away from Bond to fight Nazis in Defiance.
Only 4 bullets. I'll have to make them count.
Is the wedding reception still going on?
You come with me.
I can't go to a wedding reception in green polyester.
You trying to get me to buy you a new dress?
No, no.
After 5 decades in the business of making movies, Dustin Hoffman stars in Last Chance Harvey as Harvey Shine, a businessman on the outs from his corporate advertising job.
I'm back Monday, Marvin. I'm coming back.
Well, you better land this one, Harvey.
What does that mean?
It means what it means, Admiral.
Say it.
There are no more chances, Harvey.
Harvey takes a weekend trip to London for the wedding of his estranged daughter, Susan, played by Leanne Balaban. Realizing that too much time has passed and she will never expect him to be a great father, he feels out of place and lonely. Sure enough, he crosses paths with Emma Thompson, who plays Kate Walker, also miserable after one failed, set-up blind date after another. The two form an instant connection, sharing a wonderfully romantic afternoon in London, which serves as a great backdrop for the story.
We don't know anything about each other. You're, you know...
Old.
No, I wasn't going to say that. Well, okay, you're a bit older. I can be mean.
So can I.
It's ultimately the story of a man coming to terms with the mistakes he's made in his life, in the hopes they do not define him when he's gone. Sure, it's predictable at times and maybe even a little sappy, but overall, it's a sweet movie about genuine human emotion, and it's entertaining to watch Hoffman, charming as ever, in this stage of his career. I think you should see it.
Yeah, you know, Ben, like every romantic comedy ever made, the good ones and the bad ones, it's a little contrived, of course, but these two actors are so strong that I think in the end we're left with a really sweet and a tender movie. A couple of scenes really stand out as scenes that show just how good these two actors are. Dustin Hoffman, when he gets to London, alone in his hotel room, realizing that his daughter has put him apart from the rest of the family.
And the sadness and solitude, really.
He's got no one to talk to, and you know, and he's able to convey that as you know, only an actor of Dustin Hoffman's capability could. And then for Emma Thompson, they have a date together. He doesn't show up. I don't want to give away why. And her sort of profound sadness.
Another scene with her in the bar, too, when she's being set up on one of these dates, and she kind of has a moment like, this is what my life has come to? I'm having this realization that this isn't what makes me happy. And this is what the film is about, is finding what makes us happy in life.
There's a real authenticity in this story that many romantic comedies lack.
It's a great way to put it. Coming up next, Benicio del Toro starts a revolution in Steven Soderbergh's Che.
And later, Daniel Craig fights back in Defiance.
Our revenge is to live.
What is the most important quality for a revolutionary to possess?
El amor.
Love.
Love.
Love of humanity.
justice and truth.
Next up, Che, from one of the most provocative and simultaneously confounding directors of his generation. Steven Soderbergh's latest ambitious effort is a 4-hour, 17-minute epic told in 2 distinct parts, with Benicio del Toro as Argentinian doctor Ernesto Che Guevara, who became Fidel Castro's top lieutenant during the Cuban Revolution.
Que sí se puede llegar al poder por una lucha armada, apoyada por el pueblo.
No soy yo, Ernesto. Somos todos. Esto sería imposible hacerlo si estuviera uno solo.
First and foremost, Del Toro plays Che with passion, charm, and emotional credibility, a performance I think really worthy of Oscar consideration. That scene with Castro is from the first part of Che, the Cuban Revolution, and it's the half that really works. It's a fully cinematic experience. But Soderbergh completely abandons the non-linear storytelling he used in the first part in part 2. And that's Che's lesser-known story, his post-Cuban effort to bring the same Marxist revolutionary fervor to Bolivia.
Yo ya estoy aquí. Y de aquí solo me sacan muerto. Y estaré al lado de los que se queden hasta la victoria.
It's hard to know which scene where the men are tired, hungry, and ill-equipped is more or less important than the others. And I'm afraid if the second 2 hours of a 4+ hour film don't cut it, I can't in good conscience recommend it. Che is in limited theatrical release. It's also available on demand starting next week in 2 parts or its entirety. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to say skip it as one 4-hour film.
Part 1 is terrific. It's shot like you are there. It really takes you to the Cuban Revolution.
Very gritty.
Very gritty, very raw, stripped down, minimal use of music. Some of the battle scenes are incredibly authentic. But then that second part comes, and it's 2 hours, and it's a different texture of film, and there's non-stop music, and it jumps all over the place, and you just lose it. And you want to say to yourself, why didn't you just make a really good 2.5, maybe even 3-hour movie?
And the second part is beautiful. It looks beautiful, but again, I really couldn't distinguish which characters were more important, which scenes were more important. The first part, the gritty part, the part that both of us liked more, you know, it kept taking us out of the mountain guerrilla fighting and taking us to New York, where Che was about to give that speech to the United Nations in 1964.
It's a great way to layer the story.
Really
a really interesting biopic approach. I find the best biopics sort of bookend their subject matters, and you don't try and encompass their entire life, just sort of a window into their life.
Ultimately, I think that what was missing here was so much about Che's character that we didn't quite get him. And we know he left his family, but did that bother him? We see that Castro got much of the glory and Che was more the nuts and bolts guy doing the fighting in the mountains. Did he resent that? Those questions weren't answered. And from a guy who's brought us The Limey and Out of Sight and Traffic, some really terrific movies, I was surprised that that wasn't here in this film.
I have to say Rented, just because I do respect Steven Soderbergh for taking on this film and giving us a great part 1, and for Del Toro's performance alone. I agree with you, though. I can't tell somebody to go out and see this in a movie theater. They'll be there for 3 weeks. All right, next up is Defiance. It's from director Edward Zwick, and he has a track record of projects like Blood Diamond and The Last Samurai that center on cultures clashing during times of war and battle. His latest effort is along similar lines and is based on a true story. Daniel Craig and Liev Schreiber are brothers, Russian Jews escaping Nazi-occupied Poland through the woods of their homeland. Along the way, they encounter fleeing families seeking protection, a growing community that is not afraid to stand up and fight.
And we will become warriors, like the Maccabees and the Sicarii, brave men and women fighting for their freedom, as they were.
That's Jamie Bell as the third brother who helps train and organize the refugees as they learn to defend themselves against the Nazis.
We may be hunted like animals, but we will not become animals.
Defiance is filled with too many action sequences that don't really fuel the suspense or truly capture the imminent sense of danger. The way Zwick force-feeds his audience emotion becomes laborious. His use of music and the Hollywoodization of actual events is distracting. Perhaps a more straightforward and raw approach to what is otherwise a pretty engaging story may have been more effective. I was disappointed by Defiance. I'm going to say skip it.
You know, there were moments here where I felt like these actors, who were terrific, Liev Schreiber and Daniel Craig, there's no question about it, and I thought they did all right here, but I felt like these characters were prototypes and not people. At one point, one of them says to the other, you know, nothing is impossible. What we've done is impossible. Our problem with the script, I thought there were a lot of sort of inconsistencies. That said, it's a dramatic story. It looked great. I rather liked the music, and it involved, you know, sort of renegade Jews fighting to survive and shooting at Nazis.
I'm all for that. That's always fun to watch, no matter what it is. However,
that can't be all bad.
This is trying to be an Oscar movie so hard, and I like to watch films for what they're trying to be. Paul Blart is trying to be a fun family comedy. This is trying to win Oscars. It's not going to. It says this is the sad part, this is the romantic part, this is the action part. It just force feeds the audience to the point where I just didn't care anymore.
You're going to feel silly when Paul Blart wins an Oscar. I'm going to say Rent, Defiance. I think there's enough that's okay there to make it worth your time.
Coming up, Emma Roberts opens a hotel for dogs.
That's cool. We got straight on St. Andrews and 6th.
Come on, guys, you're being rescued.
Here, doggy.
What's the matter? Never seen a husky kid in a hoodie before?
Hotel for Dogs is the story of, and this may surprise you, 5 kids who start a hotel for dogs. Sometimes the title writes itself. No. Emma Roberts, that's Eric Roberts' daughter, so Julia Roberts' niece, is Andy. She and brother Bruce are orphans bouncing from foster home to foster home, always figuring out a way to sneak their dog Friday with them. In this case, they're trying to hide Friday from their unloving foster mom, played by Friends star Lisa Kudrow.
Okay, I don't need your attitude about setting the table, okay? Don't be lazy.
That's a really good example of the level of humor in this comedy. It's predictable and cliched. The emotion comes from the kids helping these stray dogs find a safe home at their makeshift hotel, complete with clever inventions from Bruce, the brother, who is the smartest 11-year-old ever.
You made this?
Yeah, let's take care of them, even when we're not here.
Thank you for riding the simulator. Please exit for the next customer.
Hotel for Dogs just doesn't pass the Mankiewicz kids movie test. Will the kids like it? Yeah, probably. Will the parents tolerate it or enjoy it? Probably not. And you're going to need both for me to recommend it, so I have to say skip Hotel for Dogs.
I really do love this Mankiewicz test for kids movies, and I'm glad you acknowledge the fact that kids will like it, because I think they will, and dog people will like it. That's why I'm surprised that you were so against it. There's no bigger dog person I know than you and my sister, but I think it's for younger audiences, really younger audiences, not the kids who are going to see Paul Blart. They're going to enjoy it. Nothing wrong with renting this if you have to take care of the kids and want to put something on and distract them for 2
Don
hours.
Cheadle's presence gives it a little bit of credibility.
How did he ends up in a movie like this? I have no idea.
Just real quick, skip the movie, go to the pound, adopt a dog.
There you go. Want to know what you can't miss this weekend? Well, stay tuned for my 3 to see.
Those guys were here the other night.
Closed captioning for At the Movies is sponsored by... Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience, located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. It was close, but I say skip Paul Blart Mall Cop. Ben says see it. We both say see Notorious. And we also agree you should see Last Chance Harvey. I say to skip Che. Ben says rent it. I say to rent Defiance. Ben says skip that one. I say skip Hotel for Dogs. Ben says rent it.
Lots of movies on this week's show, but now it's time for my 3 to see, and these are the 3 movies you should check out this weekend. At number 3 on the list, we reviewed it today on the show, it's Notorious. First-time actor Jamal Woolard is eerily reminiscent of Biggie and captures his inspiring spirit. At number 2, it's Gran Torino, which went into wide release just last week. Eastwood stars, directs, composes, and even sings the last song over the closing credits. This is his movie.
Thank you.
And at number 1, it just won Best Picture at the Broadcast Film Critics Awards and the Golden Globes. So, of course, by now you've heard about Slumdog Millionaire and how great it is. But until you see it, you won't fully understand what a special movie this is. It may be difficult to find as it's still in limited release, but try and walk, run, drive, steal Paul Blart's Segway, do whatever it takes to get to where it's showing. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
That's it for now. Remember, we're always online at atthemoviestv.com.
Next week on the show, we'll be counting down the best movies of 2008. And until then, we'll be at the movies.
My Bliss? Blistex Complete Moisture. A rush of moisture lips can feel. And it feels great. Discover Bliss. Discover Blistex.
Need contact lenses? 1-800-CONTACTS has the most brands in stock, so you'll get your contacts right when you need them. 1-800-CONTACTS. We deliver, you save.
The rhinovirus, a leading cause of the common cold. Why just cover up the symptoms of your cold when you can get over your cold faster with Zicam?
Choose Plum Smart. It's clinically proven to help regulate your digestion with a unique blend of prebiotic fiber, magnesium, and potassium. Plum Smart and Plum Smart Light from Sunsweet.
It might seem strange, but your antenna TV could become just a box if you don't get this box. In February 2009, some TVs will stop working unless they're upgraded to digital television with this DTV converter box. Without this upgrade, your antenna TV will not work. Make sure your TV is DTV. Call 888-DTV-2009 or visit dtvanswers.com. Don't let your TV become just a box.